and say hello. Hopefully there are people out there watching. All right.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. So today, everyone, we have some great carnivore coaches joining us, but again, we basically just trying to get people moving again. And whether that encompasses whether you use the carnivore diet or not, it's completely up to you. But metabolic health wise is what we are really trying to achieve for everyone. And people getting moving again, it can be a bit of a struggle. It can be an emotional struggle, a mental struggle, and a physical struggle. So these are things that we all sort of need to think about and look for. But we also like to think that you need to build on foundations. You need a foundation, same as building a house. If you build it on a shaky foundation, the house is not going to last. So it's really about building the right foundation, the strong foundation for people to start moving again. And it's not something that we need to rush into. So without further ado, let's hear from Coach Joff and Nia, and we'll talk about what they do and their approaches to getting people moving again. Who wants to go first?
Oh, Nia first.
Well, thanks. Thanks for putting this together, DC. I like talking about carnivore, but I also like talking about this too because I think movement's been a big part of my life. I've always been an active person, and particularly yoga is something that I've done for many, many, many years. And dance and kind of things along those lines. I've lifted weights and done more structured kind of traditional exercise as well, but I've really always been interested in staying flexible and mobile and also maintaining muscle. And so that's really kind of my approach to fitness now is not, and it's maybe a little bit different even than it was in the past where, it's very aesthetically driven. And I think sometimes, we start out that way, but then realize like, oh, there's all these, just like with diet, you realize like, oh, there's all these other benefits to exercise and to putting on muscle, things like that, yeah, it can be aesthetically motivating as well, but then you realize all these other benefits. And so that's kind of what I'm in it for at this point. So yeah, I mean, I kind of took a break from exercise when I started carnivore again this last year, over a year ago. Because I had been really super stressed out and kind of in that overtraining kind of thing. Like I wasn't physically working out, but I had been living off the grid and hauling water and chopping wood and like doing a lot of physical stuff every day. And on top of like a lot of stress and stuff, like I just got to this point where I was super maxed out and was burnt out and couldn't tolerate anything. And so I kind of now understand what it's like to start over again in many ways. This was also, after I had a baby. And so I'd never really built my core strength back up to where it was. And so really, I mean, there's lots of places that I could start talking about, what I think are some foundations, but from my own personal experience, really starting with core strength and building that back was the first thing that I focused on. And I think is probably a great place to start for many people because really that's it's the core of our posture. It's what supports rotation and like when we lift things with our appendages and things that, like it supports all of our movement and connects the upper and lower body. And so if you have a weak core and you're not supporting your low back, like you're just kind of you're not set up properly to, perform even everyday activities like walking and getting out of a car and things like that properly. And you can injure yourself and things like that. So, kind of what I did was really start with core strength and doing things that were kind of low to the ground. So with multiple points of contact. So I'm not having to challenge balance and doing all these things at once. It's like really, really connecting and grounding with like the core and then the pelvic floor as well as part of that to really get that back in place and then building strength and thinking about posture and alignment from there. So I mean, those are kind of just my initial thoughts. We can tangent off, from wherever there.
Yeah, no, they're good. I mean, core strength, I think, is one thing that I've always focused on a lot as well. And for women, especially after childbirth, working on the pelvic floor muscles is essential as well. Like that part of the core is essential, because after childbirth, you can have certain problems with that area. But for lower back, most people have lower back problems these days, and it doesn't matter if you're an overly sedentary person or even just an office worker. One of the worst things you can do physically is to sit in a chair all day long, and it's really hard on your circulation of your lymphatic system, the circulation of your blood system, but it's really hard on your back, and you basically you suffer atrophy in the core stability because of it, because you're basically just sitting there and you're just sort of relaxing too much. So these are things that people need to think about as well. When they tell you, I can't do things because it hurts my back. There's a reason why your back is sore, is because you don't have that core strength. Or I have sore knees, I can't run. There's a reason for that as well. Okay, a lot of the pain that you get from knees and ankles is a weakness in muscle groups that actually insert across the joint. All right, like especially when it comes to like knee pain, you have like gastrocnemius and other muscles that actually insert into your humerus. Okay, from your calf up into the top of your thigh sort of bone. Okay, which is humerus, and vice versa. Like your the hamstrings, okay, the biceps on the back of your leg, they actually insert into your tibia and that. Okay, so they cross over, and when your hamstrings are weak, you usually get like an arthritic sort of feeling pain. It feels like every time you try and squat or you sit down or anything like that, you get a real sharp pain just in the bottom of your knee. And basically, what it is a weakness in that muscle group. These are things that can be corrected very easily, actually, and without that much exercise, to be honest. How about you, Geoff?
Yeah, so a little bit about myself for those who don't know me. I'm a health coach, and I'm also a registered nurse. So that is my background. Movement is something I don't really talk about too much in my social media, but I do think it's a huge pillar when it comes to health and wellness, and also for people that are rehabbing. So my background in nursing is predominantly in rehabilitation. So with people who have have come out from surgery or have had a medical condition like strokes and heart attacks, and basically getting people back to normal function, or considerably the most optimal function they can based on their current health status. So but really my knowledge, and it all stems from my personal experiences. As I've been I like to say a gym addict for the last over a decade now. So I'm in my 30s. I started training in the gym in my late teens, and it's always been about aesthetics. It's always been about hitting these personal bests, these PBs, and I got to a point where I really made it a part of my life. I competed in powerlifting. I trained in Olympic weightlifting for a period of time, and I felt like that was the how shall I say it? I was arrogant. I was very arrogant in thinking that I had it all figured out. But I never really fixed the other aspects of my life. I never really focused on diet. I never focused on getting sunlight. It was all about the gym, and it made me feel great. It made me feel like I was getting stronger. And so that was all associated with, I can pretty much sustain this lifestyle and I'll be healthy until, stuff happens to me, and little did I know that, life and personal things get in the way, and sometimes it affects your ability to, move, and, injuries happen. Things with your health starts to deteriorate. I'm not going to go through a whole bunch of things that I experienced, but they were of the cardiovascular nature at, a tender age. And so when my health caught up to me, my lifestyle caught up to me, and it stripped what I loved and what I, enjoyed doing, I felt lost. I felt lost, and and then it just took me to a deeper place where, I've got no movement. I had to stop training 2 years prior to going carnivore, and this was sort of towards the end of my 30s. So carnivore played a huge role in terms of allowing me to move once again, big time, because for 2 years of not training, not going to the gym, I felt like, I just felt lost. I didn't know who I was. And so once I went carnivore, I realized that 6 months into it, I had lost a lot of weight. My metabolic health caught up to a point where, hey, I think I could start exercising and training once again. And so I gave it a go. And, 3 years later, I'm still training in the gym. But this is probably something I'll go into at some point in time. But I am thinking of actually quitting the gym starting end of this month. I think I need to break out of the shell of, this is the way it's been done. This is how you should move. You should build muscle. You need to, do your cardio. You need to be in this sort of environment to move, but you don't. And that started off with me just going for little walks around my neighborhood. And I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing in the gym? Like, honestly, the aesthetics part of it, of building muscle, being strong, it's lost appeal to me, and I'm starting to appreciate the little things in movement. So in short, I think there's so much you can do outside of a structured environment, such as the gym, where I think at its root has caused a lot of problems for me. Being in this environment where they tell you to, go to the gym 5 days a week, all the nonsense that you hear, calories in, calories out, and, eating a high protein, high carb diet. I think I just want to be away from that environment and actually start moving and doing simple things in life. But I still do want to continue some form of strength training to help me, I guess, get into, a shape that I think that people need to still maintain. Like I've always said, exercise should be specific, but at the same time, you can't live a sedentary life. So I think starting off with basics, going for walks, is something I want to start implementing. And also, just spending more time outside. I think that is where I'm at right now, I guess.
Very good. Yeah, I don't know if many people know my story. I spent 8 years out of the gym, actually, because of stage 4 follicular lymphoma twice in 2 years, and the treatments that I'm still kind of recovering from. So I've only been back in the gym for the last few years. After I was bedridden, so I had to learn how to move again. I had to learn how to, basic things like breathing. I had to learn how to breathe again because my muscles were so seized up. Okay. My organs were so bound up as well because after the chemotherapy. So Yeah, my background is sports science. Before that, I was already a personal trainer. Then I did sports science. I'm a strength and conditioning coach. So, my background did help me get moving again. And I'm a firm believer in building a foundation of strength. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to go to the gym to do it. You can do a lot of strength exercise at home without any equipment. And in fact, I did put up an ankle strengthening exercise video just last week. And I plan on doing a few more. I'll be doing knees, joints, and other. I'll be doing core stability and also exercises for more advanced people that you can do at home as well. There's pretty much nothing you can do at the gym that you can't do at home as well. The only thing that the gym offers you is the added resistance of extra weight. But like calisthenics, for example, very good exercises that you can do, and you can start very basically. Okay, so even I know sometimes it's very frustrating how slow things can move, but if you take it one step at a time and build that foundation, work on that, you'll find that later on that the strength exercises get faster and easier to do because you have that foundation that you've built already. So don't be afraid to start again. Don't be afraid to start with small steps, because that's where it all starts. And it doesn't matter what you do in life, whether it's exercise or something or anything else. Whenever you start something new, start with small steps, and those steps eventually get bigger and faster. So that's one of the messages that we all try to sort of get across. With that, speaking of that, what are some of the I guess when it comes to getting moving again, a lot of it does start with also your food. So how about you guys? Do you let's talk about what you eat, what has helped you to get moving again, and do you supplement? All right.
I eat a carnivore diet. I've been, doing that for over a year now. I did it for 11 months before I got pregnant. And so, really, that's what's been it. Like, so my last year has been, not the smoothest thing ever. It's taken me a lot of time to get my energy back, and I've had my ups and downs. And I have all videos documenting all that on my channel for anybody who hasn't seen that or wants to, go back and get more context on that. But really kind of like, what you mentioned, you got to give it some patience sometimes. And that's the hardest thing. Cause I'm definitely one of those people that's like, I want to get in there and do it and no excuses and, that type of mentality a lot of the time. But I had to learn how to just take it slow and do what I could and just sort of let things be. But recently, I'd say since maybe June or July, right around my 1 year mark, I've started being more consistent. And so I think what I eat really, that changed the whole game because it brought me back from a place of basically not being able to tolerate any exercise. Other than maybe just doing what I was doing around the house, which some days was exhausting me anyway. And so it brought me from that place to the place where it's like, 3-4 days a week, I can do something moderate, strength wise and not be completely wiped out. So I think that's crucial. I think nutrition's always the place to start. And I think that's another sort of mindset shift that we realize when we do this carnivore in particular, is that diet takes care of so much, right? It takes care of so much inflammation and weight loss. Like you don't have to exercise in order to lose weight, and that's like a huge shift for a lot of people, realizing like, oh, really 90% of this is just what I'm eating. So then it's like, well, where does exercise fit in once you get the nutrition dialed in? And it's like, okay, then it's really not about, being a slave to the cardio machines anymore to burn calories, right? Or, burn off the Oreos that I ate or whatever it is, right? You just go through this whole shift of like, well, what is the point of this then? The point of it is to, like we've been talking about, get that foundation of strength built so that you can move functionally throughout the day and not injure yourself. And then whatever, depending on whatever your goals are, if you want to participate in a sport or an activity, or you want to train for a 5K or whatever it is, you can kind of tailor your efforts towards that. But really, like, we want to keep muscle as we continue to age, because it's easy to just we start to lose muscle naturally. And so we want to do that so that we can stay strong and independent and healthy into old age. And that's really my main goal. But there's so many other benefits, like increased mitochondrial production and mitochondrial health. That is super fascinating about, when you actually exercise and move your muscles and do that on a consistent basis, like there's all kinds of downstream health benefits, including energy. And I think it helps with sleep too. I think it's just another one of those puzzle pieces that really fits into, like, you all mentioned too, sunlight and, grounding and getting out and being in nature and these types of things. When you combine your exercise with that, I think it's just like the benefits start to stack up. So yeah, nutrition is huge. And I don't think I'd be in the place that I am without carnivore, for sure. And then, yeah, going into the next year, that's my goal, is to build back the muscle. I got a DEXA scan in May at Hack Your Health, and I was unpleasantly surprised with the amount of muscle that it showed. I mean, in a way, I kind of like pregnancy sort of, and, just sucked all the muscle off my body. I could see it, but I didn't, when I got that result, I was like, whoa, I need to like put some muscle back on. So that's kind of my goal, going into the next year.
Well, you got the best diet to do it. I mean, your muscles are made up of proteins,
Mm-hmm.
So, what better way to get it?
Yeah.
How about you, Jeff?
Yep. So I'm the same as both of you. I eat a carnivore diet. I've been doing it for 3 years. But in terms of supplements, the only I don't consider these as supplements. The Cerule Stem Enhance Ultra, Plasma Flow, and the Cyactive. They're more of a nutraceutical. But I think, those three products, help enhance your, those 3 bottles there will help, I think, increase, your adult stem cell count in your circulation, which is going to be beneficial. So that's why I did it. I started taking it about a year ago, or less than that. I can't remember now. And it's, it has been beneficial, I think, to me. So those are really the 3 main products I've been taking consistently. I'm just trying to think. Did I supplement with anything? I was on whey protein, natural, just straight whey protein, no other additives. But that got a little bit expensive. Let's see. I really didn't feel like I needed to supplement with anything. I think the carnivore diet itself got me the results that I wanted. I know that there are certain variations of carnivore where if you do want to add, or if you do want to put on more muscle, you could increase, carbohydrate intake to try and, increase your insulin. But I think that can be well achieved by just simply eating more protein.
Yeah, easy.
Easy. But yeah, that's me. I think, like Nia said, I wouldn't have been able to start moving again if it wasn't for carnivore. It really is, for me, hands down the most anti-inflammatory diet. And I think that a lot of people suffer from inflammation to a degree where you are going to be debilitated. A lot of these aches and pains that people experience, you know, I think inflammation plays a huge part in it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm.
Inflammation is one of the biggest reasons why people get joint pain, and oxalates are another one. But again, that's all from carbohydrates, you know. There are a number of things. I mean, depends on what your goals are. If mostly what we're talking about metabolic health and just trying to get people moving again. So the carnivore diet is perfect because like Joff said, it's very anti-inflammatory diet for a start. It's also the lowest in deuterium. So metabolically, it's going to be the healthiest. Okay, so carbohydrates and especially ultra-processed foods are extremely high in deuterium, which actually blocks your Krebs cycle inside your mitochondria, and that's where the damage really happens. Seed oils, especially, okay, all your vegetable oils and things, are extremely high in deuterium. When it comes to supplements, like Josh said, like these three up behind me on this way, okay, Stem Ultra Enhance, Stem Enhance Ultra, the Plasma Flow. These are all great supplements for, I wouldn't say, like Josh said, like they're not supplements, they're actually nutraceuticals. They're actually, the difference is that, supplement is to make up for what your diet doesn't have, okay? Whereas a nutraceutical like this is to enhance what you already have and make it better, okay? And the Cyactive. That combination of three, because when it comes to your stem cells, as we get older, our body's release of stem cells gets less efficient, and the telomeres on each cell actually gets shorter and shorter. That's their actual aging process. So, like the stem enhanced ultra will help the body release more stem cells and improve the length of the telomeres. Now, the telomeres, there are a number of things that can help with this. Okay, it's not just these nutraceuticals that will do the same job. Exercise is, especially high intensity exercise, will do the same thing as well. Will also help the body produce more or release more stem cells. So you're always going to produce the stem cells, but whether or not your body releases them or not is the question. So you need stimulus. The body needs stimulus to release the stem cells. So you can do this a number of ways. One is high intensity exercise. I recommend resistance training. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to do it in the gym. Like I said before, you can do this at home with calisthenics. Okay, it gives you the same result. Sprints is another way to do it. Eating meat. Red meat has, there are studies that have come out recently in the last 12 months that show that eating red meat, okay, also lengthens the telomeres of each stem cell, okay. Fasting also stimulates the body to release more stem cells, okay, and also to lengthen the telomeres as well. And telomeres are like the little shoelace ends of each stem cell, which actually stops it from fraying and deteriorating the stem cell. And the next one, obviously, is these nutraceuticals. Okay, so there are three things that you can do at home, cost nothing. And then if you add these nutraceuticals on top, then not only is it going to slow aging, it's going to help recovery, because the more stem cells you have available to you, the faster you will recover from exercise and from whatever else that you do throughout the day. So there's my little sales pitch there, and you can get them right there, that link at the top of my head. Yeah, fantastic product. Actually, I've started using them myself. I wish I had these throughout my treatments. It would have made a big difference, I think. Yeah, apart from that, other supplements that I do recommend for various reasons. If you, for example, cannot eat enough meat, now is creatine. Creatine is a very cheap supplement. You can get it non-flavored. Okay, don't get anything with any kind of flavorings or colorings or anything like that. Just a basic creatine monohydrate, or and creatine is very good for many processes throughout the body, including muscle, bone, and brain and organ tissue. For your brain especially, creatine is very good for highlighting or helping the firing of electrical charge throughout your brain, things like that. So creatine is a very good supplement, but it's very cheap, and it's something. If you also get it from meat, so if you're not eating enough meat, creatine can be another way to go, and it will certainly help with a lot of things. So let's start with a couple of comments here. Papa Carnivore. Since going carnivore, I take morning walks with my dog. Very good. The dog will appreciate that. Start slowly over time, have worked my way up to 5 miles a day. Very good. Excellent. I have to say, when it comes to morning walks, okay, this is a really good. My father-in-law, I did a video on this last year when I went back to Japan to visit my wife's family. He is in his 70s now. And he walks 2 hours every morning. Doesn't matter what season, doesn't matter what the weather conditions, unless it's like a storm or something. But 2 hours every morning in his 70s, he goes for a walk around the city where he lives, and he meets a group of other elderly people, and they do exercises in the park before he goes home. I think that's incredible, and at a fast pace. Like, we went for a walk with him and we could barely keep up with him. I'm a pretty fast walker, right?
Yeah.
So this is what eating meat and eggs. Like, he's Japanese, they eat a lot of meat and they eat a lot of eggs and seafood, all sorts of, and anything that's moved or had a parent at one time in its life, and if it didn't, they push it to just to check. That's how healthy it is. It's amazing. It keeps him very fit, actually. While out in my walks, I make sure to do grounding and get plenty of sunlight. In my eyes, and skin. These are great life hacks. I've got a couple of videos that talk about 4 life hacks you can do in 15 minutes every morning. But 7 life hacks on my channel. Go check it out, because things like that, like grounding, deep breathing, sunlight, get your body, your organs connected to circadian rhythm. Okay, so you produce hormones at different times of the day, and for example, if you take different types of supplements, like I know a lot of people like to take vitamins, even though, well, that's a different subject anyway. I don't recommend it, but if you take vitamins and so on throughout the rest of the day, what you are doing is you're changing the timing of your hormone release, which can lead to a lack of sleep. It can lead to all sorts of problems that your hormones are supposed to release at a certain time throughout the day. So get your body connected to set to the circadian rhythm. Like, first thing in the morning, go outside, do some grounding, and watch the sun come up. You'll thank me. Honestly, it's a big help to your body and just every process of your body. Anyway, excellent work, Papa Carnivore.
I found too, when you go walking. Sorry, man. When you go walking in the mornings, I'm never a morning person. I'm always, that's probably due to the shift work, but I feel like it just gives you that hit of energy that you need to get you through the day. Because I've been so, distorted with my sleep schedules in nursing. Over the last few weeks, I've had some time off work, and I realized how much, it just, mentally and physically, it keeps me going throughout the day. And so that first hit of sunlight, and then going for a walk early morning has helped me stop drinking coffee. I used to be, first thing, get up in the morning and have a cup of coffee. Now, the last few weeks, I feel like I haven't needed to do that. I feel like the, however long the walk is, it's enough to set the tone for me, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's good. How about you, Nia? You got a morning routine?
I'm kind of lucky, I feel like. I used to do, I worked in restaurants for a long time, and so I was definitely like the, get up at noon, get up at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
kind of thing, go to work at 5 or 6, and then stay up till the sun comes up type of a thing for years and years. So I totally know what that's like to kind of be on the opposite schedule. But now, I'm a stay-at-home mom primarily. So, and my fiance still works in restaurants. So he, goes to work at like 11 or noon. And so we kind of just all wake up without an alarm, and, we just hang out and kind of like, he drinks coffee still. And so, we'll just kind of hang out in bed and talk and whatever, and then sort of have a slow kind of morning. I like to get up before everybody else and work. That's how I would normally do it. But sometimes that, I'll do that, and then I'm not getting enough sleep. And so it's kind of that thing where I'm trying to prioritize my sleep hygiene as much as I can and getting enough sleep, because if I don't do that, then I feel like I need something, to boost me throughout the day. So, I guess, mornings are kind of chill. It's our family meal time. And then, I guess I kind of work more in the later afternoon into the evening doing around this time. So, not perfect, but I think for, our lifestyle and the way it's set up, I think it's pretty good. I don't remember what the exact question was, though. Did that answer the question?
Yeah,
Kind
pretty
of,
much.
no.
Just asking if you had a
So I do
morning
in the
routine.
morning routine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's nothing like hyper structured about it, but that's where I'm trying to insert more of my consistent movement practice, because I try to put it in the afternoon, or I'm like, oh, maybe I should do it at night before bed to wind down, but it just never ends up happening. So really that's the time where I'm trying to figure out, like, do I need to get up before everybody and like sacrifice a little bit of sleep to make sure I get this in, or can I fit it in like while they're eating breakfast and then I can do that, so it's like, it's sometimes hard to find the perfect time to do it consistently, but we're getting there.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea too. I think try and prioritize what you need to do first thing in the morning, because if you put it off, you go through a few things. Like, for example, 15-minute life hacks, you can do in the morning. You can do grounding, set your body to the circadian rhythm, do deep breathing, all in 15 minutes. You can do it all at the same time. I figure if you get that 15 minutes done, you don't have to argue with yourself the rest of the day, like thinking, okay, when can I fit this in? Okay, I'll put it off till this afternoon. I'll do this and do this, and you end up just putting it off, and you don't get it done. So just get up and get it done. If you have, like, I like to write down a list and just say, okay, the first thing, this is what I have to do first thing in the morning. I have a list of things that I have to do. That way I don't argue with myself and just get it done. And then get into work, get whatever videos or whatever work you have to do, and just try and get it done first thing in the morning. Otherwise, like I said, you're sort of struggling all day, arguing with yourself when you're going to get it done. So you just put it off to. I figure it's low impact. Talking about the rebounder, yeah. I know rebounders are quite popular. Depending on where you're coming from, I'd like to talk about these rebounders a bit, because when you are rebounding, you're jumping up and down on this little trampoline sort of thing. When you come back down, you actually have, 3-4 times your body weight coming down onto your joints. So I think it's a really good idea to strengthen your joints before you start doing any kind of, it's low impact on your muscles, perhaps a little bit, if you just do a little bit. But, you know, I think try and strengthen those joints first. Anyone got an opinion on rebounding? Joff?
No,
Yeah.
pretty much. No, I'm in line with you.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think I haven't done it personally for a long time, but I would, you know, I remember jumping on a trampoline as a kid a lot, and that was something like that was really cool. Everybody, you know, that people that had trampolines or whatever. And I don't know, I almost found it like almost therapeutic because you're coming down, but like you do have that bounce, you know, where it's like you feel like the impact isn't as, I don't know, it feels different than jumping like onto concrete or even on a gym floor or something like that. So yeah, but I don't know like the full science breakdown of rebounding, but that's all that comes to my mind is like, this makes me feel like a kid, you know, it makes me feel like, oh, I would do that. You know, it'd be something I would like get addicted to, which would make me want to like, you know, want to do that, which I think is important because you got to find something that kind of makes you feel.
Yeah, you still want to have fun.
You know.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Yeah, when it gets to, when it comes to like getting moving again, you want to make it fun. You don't want to make it
Absolutely.
a struggle every. You don't want to struggle every morning with, God, it's leg day. I don't want to do legs at the gym, sort of thing. You know, make it fun. You know, like just make it a challenge for yourself. You get bored with a routine, try swap it out. You know, just try something new. You know, I think that's a good thing. And yeah, the trampoline's fun. It's hell fun. Like when you're a kid, like you remember bouncing up and doing somersaults and all sorts of stuff, and just it's hell fun, you know.
Yeah.
But you just got to be careful with like this rebounding, and I mean, if for example, you wouldn't put like a 400-pound person on a trampoline and tell them, you know, okay, jump as high as you can, sort of thing. You know, you got like then you'd have like 1,000 pounds coming down onto the trampoline, even though it's got that give. Eventually, you got that stress. Even if the mat is strong enough to hold that weight, okay, you got like 4 to 5 times that much pressure coming down on your joints. All right, so it's something that, depending on where you are, depending on where you're coming from, you may need to strengthen your joints and maybe some of your muscles before you start doing things like that. So it's just something to think about. I love, honestly, and it is different to doing it on the ground, but I love plyometric work. It is absolutely, I think, essential for developing power. So, Good evening. Hello. Good evening. Had some fat and good sleep. Oh, good night's sleep. Sorry. Gotta forgive my eyes. They're a little bit blurry at the moment. What are the thoughts about combining whey protein with collagen protein to help building muscle after chemotherapy? You guys want to chime in on this, or you want me to go for it?
I think you've got the experience, mate.
You definitely go first. You earned that one.
All right. Full disclosure, I did use whey proteins while I was going through treatment. But that I will say because I did for a number of reasons. All right. My whole life I'd been in sports, and you know, taking whey protein was a common thing. It was a normal thing for me. All right. I couldn't eat. I was fasting, and especially the first time with R-CHOP, it was extremely painful on, especially with the bones. Had a lot of vomiting, so you needed to have something in your stomach. You know, vomiting without something in your stomach is infinitely more painful. And when it comes to R-CHOP, it feels like you're throwing up your entire skeletal system. Okay, like it's that painful. All right. So I did use it for that. When I felt it coming on, I would drink a protein shake because that was pretty much the healthiest thing that I could think of. Because I couldn't eat. and it was also something that could mask the taste of chemotherapy, because when you go through chemotherapy, that's all you can taste. It's just that the chemotherapy on your tongue all the time, and it's horrible. It is the most horrible thing you can taste. Now, under normal circumstances, I would say I do not take whey proteins because they are full of seed oils, they're full of colorings, they're full of flavorings, and they are heavily processed. So the problem is, whey is animal-based, but it is heavily processed. It actually comes from milk. Okay, so it's a milk byproduct. But again, it is heavily processed. So how much of that actual protein is your body going to absorb? All right, it's going to be very minimal at best. So if you can eat, try and get it from your meat. Okay. If you're having trouble with that, I would swap it out for just creatine, because that's the most benefit. You're going to get more benefit from taking creatine than you are from a protein powder. If you do get a protein powder, a whey protein powder, try to get one that has no flavorings, no colorings, and no seed oils. Okay. That is very, very difficult, because 99%, even high-end whey protein powders will have all of those products in there. At some point, they'll have either like sunflower oil or soy protein oil. Okay. And soy protein enhanced, because it's just, unfortunately, these ultra processed food companies, they use this stuff to poison us. Okay, which I think, like over the years, is one of the contributors to my cancer diagnosis in the first place. That and a low-fat diet, a heavily processed, even though it was supposed to be health food, a heavily processed health food diet on a low-fat diet for most of my life is definitely what led to my diagnosis. So I steer clear of them now. Okay, I think everyone should, under normal circumstances. If you want to increase, okay, collagen is probably one of the most vital proteins, amino acids that we take. Okay, now this is the thing. When they talk about protein, they talk about crude protein. I think like just all protein is all the same. The fact is, we absorb amino acids, and it has to be the right amino acid in the right dose, the right currency for our bodies to absorb. For example, there are proteins, okay, in nuts and seeds and things like that, and other carbohydrates, vegetables as well, but we can't absorb them. All right. So protein is not protein, sort of thing. But one of the most predominantly used throughout the body is collagen, especially for bone health, because your bones are mostly made up of collagen. That's what keeps them flexible and strong. Okay. And especially after chemotherapy, chemotherapy damages your body's ability to produce platelets and bone marrow. Okay. So your bones are dried out as well. They are very brittle and fragile. Okay. So it takes a long time. Like my platelets are still low 10 years later. Okay, my platelet production is still low. Okay, so 10 years later, it damages your body's production for life. Okay, and it will change. So you may want to supplement with collagen. Okay, and creatine. But if I would avoid the protein powders that you get from so-called health food and fitness stores and things like that. But as I said, there are alternatives such as non-flavored, non-colored sort of protein powders from whey. But again, they're still ultra processed. So how much you're going to absorb is not going to be very much anyway. And they taste like shit. So, then if you get that, you're gonna be wanting to add something to it for flavor anyway. So how much of it are you really going to get out of it? That's my thought. Anyone want to add to that?
Yeah, I think definitely the collagen peptides. I don't see how you can't go wrong with that. I think with anyone basically, but especially after chemotherapy, I think that's would be beneficial. In terms of the whey protein, yeah, it's I agree with you. Most in the market, I've only found one here in Australia that I think is, I can see that it only contains the whey protein itself, which again, as you mentioned, it is still processed. In terms of the flavor, and it's more the texture that really gets to you because of all the binding agents that the binding agent, whatever it is that they put into the protein that makes it easily dissolvable with the whey proteins. Just straight from
too. There's a lot of those agents in there too that like anti-clogging and like things that help it dissolve in water quicker and things like that too.
So with my experience in taking just straight whey protein powder with no additives, it is thick and gluggy, and you've got to pretty much dissolve it in a ton of water. And so the flavor profile is not there, but in saying that, it could be beneficial too if you are just wanting to add, I guess, a little bit of protein in your diet. You can add it into coffee without having too much flavor, but again, it's just flavor wise, it's not the greatest. No.
Have you guys heard of Noble protein powder?
I have not.
No.
I am not in this world at all. I've never taken any of this stuff, but Ben does. Ben's like the supplement guy. But I actually heard about this company, and I can share it. I think I don't know if I can share my screen. Yeah. So
Noble Origins, is that it?
I believe they're out of Austin, Texas, and I heard about them on Judy Cho's podcast because she's from Austin too. And like I think this is, so we've ordered a couple bags of this. I have not personally used it, but Ben has taken it. So he said it's great. He's, was happy with it. And I don't think it's completely additive free. Like I think there's some xanthan gum in there. If I can get but they have chocolate, vanilla, but it's animal based. There's organs in it. And it's grass.
There are other ones too. Like Mark Bell has a product, the steak shake, that has organ meats and stuff like that in it too. But again, it does have like you said, like xanthan gum.
There's xanthan gum and stevia.
Yeah, and stevia.
So,
these vegetable gums are quite toxic. I've actually done some videos on these before. Some of them they actually use to grow tumors. Okay, so that for research, and flavorings and colorings and stuff like that. So yeah, there are some are better than others. Okay, like Mark Bell's steak shake, for example. Okay, it's full of organ meats and stuff like that. So it might have a better profile than other proteins, but they still have those other chemicals in there as well. So it's how much do you really want it? It's really, you can try it. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying that's my experience as well. So just be careful of how much ingredients. I think another way you can mitigate some of the risk of these things is to add more fat, because they don't have the fat profile either, and that's the biggest thing that helps. This is carnivore. It's not all about protein; it's about the fats. You can limit your risk of damage by increasing your fat intake. So, for example, if you take a protein shake, maybe eat a spoonful of butter or a spoonful of lard or something like that as well. Take with it. That's something I would do. Adding butter can be a really good way to just offset that linoleic acid sort of imbalance as well. So that's what I would do anyway. And what's a reasonable time frame to increase muscle mass? Well, that's okay. How fast you build muscle is going to depend on many things. Okay, one is your actual exercise, 2, your recovery period, and of course your diet. But also it's going to depend on a number of things like your age, your ethnicity, and it can also be your environment. How, like we were talking about before, being out in the sunlight actually helps you put on muscle and burn fat. Okay, because it stimulates hormone production like D3, testosterone, and all your IGF hormones, because they all come from the cholesterol produced by your liver, and all of those hormones help you build muscle. And to stimulate that, you need to be out in the sun and grounding. Okay, so these are things that will help with building muscle. But all of those factors will determine how fast you put muscle on and how big you grow. Okay, and gender as well. Generally speaking, women put on muscle a little bit slower than men, I think. And obviously they're not going to be as big as men, depending on their frame as well, and of course their diet. A lot of women now take, steroids are a very popular thing at the moment. So there's a number of things that you'd have to sort of, I think, just be patient and keep at it, do everything you can, and be happy with your results. You will get there. Okay. You guys want to chime in on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously not in the same situation, but I was actually going to mention before how quickly I notice muscle coming back on without really because I've been eating carnivore, and I know some people are like, I just grew muscles without even doing anything. That has not been my experience. However, I haven't been doing that much, and I already feel stronger, and I already can see some definition, and it's like, oh, my cores, starting to get just a little bit of a line, you know what I mean? Like nothing crazy, but you can just, and then I just feel stronger. I feel looser. So I was kind of surprised, oh, really in a month or two of doing, basic stuff. And I'm putting out a few classes on my channel now, just as a side note, mostly low intensity mobility stuff, this real baseline foundational stuff. But as I continue to progress, I'm also building a website where I'm going to put all of these classes on. So people want to join me for that. That's being built to launch in the new year. But as I, progress into a little bit more strength stuff, it's I'm kind of surprised how quickly it's just sort of wow, I got some more muscle, and I think diet has a lot to do with that.
Absolutely.
So obviously you need the stimulus, right? And that's what I wasn't really giving my body this past year. But I think my body needed to heal, and so I think there's, again, that balance of, like DC brought up too, your rest time needs to be sufficient. Your recovery period needs to be enough so that you're not, breaking down or stressing your body too much, especially while it's dealing with a lot of other healing components. So, but I think you'll be surprised, if you increase your resistance even just a little bit, or the frequency of what you're doing, depending on what you are doing, you'll probably be surprised how quickly your body will respond to that.
Yeah. Hey, you, Jeff?
Yeah. For me, I think, muscle profile also, just to add on to the list of things, if you are, depending on where you are at in terms of your fitness levels and also your current muscle profile, that's all going to play into a part, because a lot of people here, these beginner gains, and that's basically due to the new stimuli that you've added into your, movements that you're doing. So starting off, if you are, say, for example, getting into the gym, starting to train, for building muscle, you might start to see quite fast improvement, gains relative to someone who's a little bit more experienced, and has is conditioned to sort of do these strenuous movements. But I also wanted to add into in terms of, I guess, noticing differences in yourself. Pain is a huge factor as well. Especially if you start to notice, as you progress and in time, the more sort of stress you put into your muscles, because essentially, to build muscle, you have to break it down, right? And as you progress onwards, you start to feel less pain. So that's an indicator that you are starting to increase muscle mass as well. But it's all going to vary depending on a huge bunch of factors that come into play.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables. I think just be patient. I think you'd be surprised just how quick it does come on, especially if you are on the carnivore diet, because like I said before, your muscles are basically made up of amino acids. Okay, so and having said that, when I was talking about supplement, if you find that you can't eat enough meat, for example, supplementing with creatine is one good benefit. But you can also supplement with amino acids, like they call it BCAAs. BCAAs, okay, so branched chain amino acids. You can also get these in non-flavored, non-colored sort of forms, powdered forms as well, which can be a very beneficial sort of supplement for many reasons. But again, try to make sure that less chemicals as possible. Try to do it as naturally as possible. Because you get all this from meat, so try to just eat as much meat as you can. I've tried the grounding and morning routine, winding down, etc. Honestly, it doesn't make a difference for me. Well, that's fine. I think it certainly helps me feel better throughout the day. It certainly helps me sleep better as well. Have you gone through the good evening? Yeah, we've gone through that one. I have a rebounder. It's pretty fun. However, pole fitness and handstands are definitely pure magic, mentally and physically. Yeah, I mean, if you can, I mean, like we said before, this all depends on where you're coming from. Some people finding it difficult just to get up and move, but if you're fit enough to do that, that's great. Excellent. Hey, Mandy, how you doing? Hi, guys. Sorry, late joining. Does vibration plate help non-active, low energy days? You guys want to chime on that one, or you want me to start?
I'm unfamiliar. I don't know much about vibration plates.
Okay. All I know is Bill Knott uses a vibration plate, and he says it's a miracle for him. That's all I know. I've never used one.
Okay. What it does, right? I mean, it does. What it's doing is what your calf muscles are supposed to do for you. Okay, so it's kind of replacing that. All right, so they're good in the fact that if you are largely sedentary and sitting in a chair all day, okay, it's going to help do things that you should be doing yourself. It's going to do externally what you should be doing yourself. Now, the problem is conditions like lymphedema, lipedema, deep vein thrombosis. These are conditions that happen because of a lack of circulation. All right. So what happens, like lymphedema, lipedema, and things like that, is basically your lymph fluid. You get fluid build up in your lower limbs because it's not getting circulated back up to the rest of your body. Okay. because your lymphatic system relies on muscle contraction to circulate lymph fluid around your body. Okay, so for hormone production, for moving fats, because all your fatty acids are actually moved in your lymph fluid. All right, to boost your immune system. Okay, your lymph fluid actually carries all your white cells as well, and your proteins. All right. So what happens if you're sitting in a chair or in a bed all day long? You're not getting that circulation back up to the rest of your body because it's all just going straight downhill, and it needs something to push that back up. And that's why it relies on your calf muscles. So we are built to walk. Yeah. So when you get up and you move, that circulation happens via the contraction of all those calf muscles that push it back up to the rest of your body. And the same thing happens with your blood system. All right. Your heart pumps it around your body, but when it pumps it down, it needs another pump to squeeze that back up to your heart and for more circulation. So you get conditions like deep vein thrombosis, where the lack of return to your heart, okay, can lead to things like heart attacks. All right. So these are conditions that actually happen to people on say long trips traveling, like airplanes. It's very common. So for older people especially, they wear like these circulation socks that actually help them squeeze their calves while they're flying. So what the vibration plate is doing, okay, because it's vibrating for you, okay, it pretty much is externally shaking or making a fake contraction in your calf muscles and pushing that fluid back up to the rest of your body. If you do not move, if you do not walk all day long, this may be beneficial to have a vibration plate. Another thing you can do is to force a contraction in your calf muscles. Easy thing to do is to just lift your heel off the ground, just tap the heel or tap your toes. Okay, just tap your toes on the floor. Okay, do that, throughout the day, a couple of minutes every 30 minutes. Okay, and you'll find that it will do a much better job anyway. So it's totally up to you, but that's what the vibration plates do, pretty much. Okay. Any other thoughts
or
on
even
that?
things like in qigong and some of these other I don't know what you call them, energy movement practice, like tai chi, qigong, all that stuff. Like they have heel drops, which are kind of like that too, and you can do them very lightly as well. So you just you find your good posture, and then you just rise up onto the ball of your feet, and then let your heels drop, and rise up, and then let your heels. So you're like DC was saying, you're strengthening your calf muscle. It's doing what it's supposed to do. And then you're getting that little bit of, kind of like we mentioned with the rebounding, like that little bit of vibration, that little bit of stimulus when you drop your heels. And that's sort of helping the body too, to be like, oh, okay, the joint needs to be strong and stable, and the muscle needs to work this way, and the ankle needs to be mobile. And so it's just like a very basic way of getting stagnant energy moving too. So yeah, there's lots of simple things you can do without having to buy something like that. Yeah,
and that's right. I mean, it's about like that lymph fluid is where you start producing energy as well. So there is a video I put up last week on strengthening your ankles. Okay, get bulletproof ankles from very sedentary, very easy exercise to start with, but they're also circulation exercises. Okay, any sort of ankle movement, any sort of ankle exercise is not only about strengthening the joint or the calf muscles, it's about circulation of the lymphatic system and your blood system. Okay. And it will certainly help you to avoid and correct, some pretty serious issues like lymphedema and deep vein thrombosis are pretty serious issues. Okay. And they can lead to other complications. Okay. Okay. Days of non-energy health needed. Eating too much meat, lots of fats causing more issues. Yeah, I don't think eating too much meat or fat is going to be a big issue. I think the issue would be the lack of movement. Okay, so like days of non-energy or days of being stuck inside, perhaps, or just being sedentary. That I think that is the biggest problem you're going to feel. It's when it comes to when you're stuck inside. You know, like in winter, for example, people get depressed. You know, like winter depression is a real thing. It's because you're stuck inside. You're not getting that sunlight. A lot of our energy comes from sunlight and from grounding. Okay. So that's why you feel low on energy, because you've been inside for a couple of days or however long. And that it gets you feeling low on energy. You also have a lack, because you are stuck inside, you're also not moving as much. So you have a lack of circulation, which is another reason why you have low on energy. When you stop moving for a while, like if say after a day at work, you come home, you lie down in front of the TV, your body thinks it's time to shut down, it's time to sleep. Right? So you start producing more melatonin and you just naturally drift off to sleep. But when you stand up, it's like, oh, I've got to go brush my teeth, and then you've got that energy boost again because you've got that circulation happening, and you can't sleep. Yeah, it's basically a lot of the times that we feel tired is because we just haven't been circulating our system. We just haven't been moving. You get up and get moving again, you feel like you got a second wind. Right. So these are reasons why you'll be feeling low on energy. Anyone chime on that?
I think you know, absolutely right. I think movement is going to, you know, give you, you know, that little boost of energy that you need. So, but sometimes it could be multifactorial as well. Actually, it's always multifactorial. There's always things happening around you that could impact your energy levels, sleep, sunlight, hydration. So it's always important to look at things as a whole rather than just the diet itself. In terms of eating too much meat and fats, doesn't seem to be an issue to me, but I guess, yeah, it like I said, it has to be a holistic approach rather than just point at one thing.
I mean, you can feel sleepy after eating one big meal, right? Your body you start feeling sleepy after eating one big meal. So if you feel that way, maybe look at the timing of your meal and maybe break your meal up into 2 meals. Okay, that might help as well. So there's a number of things that will, yeah. What do you think, Nia?
Yeah, I experienced that. I was tired after eating a lot in the beginning. I think I honestly was eating too much. I was trying to like prime and just like eat so much because I thought it would bring my energy up. But my body couldn't handle that much food. And so I did have to kind of adjust it. But you also don't want to undereat. And that's kind of the typical, you know, thing, because you're going to feel satiated with less. And so people will undereat. But I think you can overeat too. So it's kind of, you can just test it, you know, for a couple days. If you're OMAD, just eat a smaller meal and see. If you end up starving at night, then you need to eat more. Or if you're, you know, or like DC said, and I had to do that too, where I even broke it up into 3 small meals, which I typically don't want to eat 3 meals, but just to try it for a few weeks, you know, and I found like, okay, that seemed to help. And then I started shrinking my window again. So you just kind of got to play around with it until you find the time, the meal size, the frequency, the fasting window, everything, the timing that works for you. So don't give up.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like your eating window is something you can play around with, because when you do eat, you start producing different hormones as well. So it's, I mean, yeah, there's a number of factors there. But if you're feeling sleepy after eating one big meal, just break it up into 2 or 3, like Nia said, and you might find that your energy levels are a little bit higher as well. Fasting a few days, shall I rest digestively? Fasting, I think, is fantastic, and it's something I do. I did through treatments, not really in because I wanted to, but because I just couldn't eat. So like at some point I actually fasted for 2 weeks, and sometimes longer. But I think that made a very big difference to my survival. But in general, I find it's very good to give your body a digestive rest. At the moment I fast I usually eat, like on Friday I have my 2 meals, and I won't eat again till either Sunday or Monday, depending on my training. Especially if I'm not training for that day, I won't eat. So I just feel very comfortable with that. It helps a lot with autophagy. You feel better with, like I said before, it's also one of the stimulants for releasing more stem cells. And I don't know, you feel good. I don't know, I feel good fasting. You actually produce more ketones as well while you're fasting. And ketones is the preferred fuel of the brain. I find that you think clearer while fasting as well. So I think it's very, very beneficial. Yeah. How about you guys?
Anyone? Yeah, I think fasting's great too. And there again, it's something it's like a muscle. You gotta start with what you're comfortable with and work into it. I don't typically go longer than 24 hours right now, just because I'm not trying to lose any weight. I'm not, I don't necessarily have a reason to go much longer than that, but I think it's definitely something to play around with. I agree.
I love it. I love fasting. I think it's a very useful tool for anyone. I think it is something that you could use, habitually if you want, and you'll reap benefits from it, of course. Now, what I always tell people about fasting is, if it's your first time or if you're new to it, I think having an accountability, someone to keep you to keep an eye on you, especially if you're going to be doing extended fasts. So anything, I would say probably more than 24 hours. I think it's always good to have someone keep an eye on you, especially if you're just going to go jump straight into it. Especially if you're eating carbohydrates. So I think, that would just be my sort of tip. Or if you know in yourself that you have certain things that you can keep an eye on. So, for example, if you are going to be doing, a 3-day fast, things like urine output, checking blood pressure, those simple things. Yeah, my nursing brain is just kicking in right now. I think you just need to have someone to basically oversee how you're going.
It also depends on the type of fast that you're doing as well. There are dry fasts that you can do. There are fat fasts and things like that. I think, like you guys said, I think it's something you need to adapt to. It's like going to the gym. Start small and work your way up. And you may want to think about, even if you do a fast and you just every now and then when you start to feel hungry, especially it is going to be much more difficult for you if you are eating carbohydrates, because you get those cravings, those food cravings. Even if you take like a slice of butter every now and then, that helps satiate you throughout the fast, that will help you extend your fast. And make sure you eat either electrolytes or take a good mineral salt. I don't use electrolyte supplements. I use a good mineral salt. There's a good brand here in Australia. It's called Murray River. It's pink Murray River salt. It's hand harvested and it's in flakes, so it's less processed. So it actually keeps more minerals. So there are things like that will help you get through a fast and help satiate you as well. So, Hey Rick, good to see you, buddy. 7 p.m. I'm not sure what time. What time is it over there, Nia?
Sorry, it's almost 6:30 at night.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's
Not too bad.
dark.
I think you're in a different time zone to Rick, though. Yeah, Rick's in Florida.
Yeah, we're an hour apart. Yeah, so it's 7:30
Hey.
his time.
Hello, Aid. Good to see you, buddy. Greeting superior metabolic health to you all. Very good. Thank you. Yeah, Rick, the Florida Yeti or the Florida Lurch.
The strongest skinny guy, I think, right?
Yeah, the
Is
strongest skinny guy.
Probably the
strongest
strongest skinny
guy
guy in the world.
in the world.
Yeah, just came from work and took a bath and turned on the computer. Nice routine. Greetings from Tampa, United Carnival. Good to see you, man. Let's see. Let's have a look for some more comments and questions. There's quite a few here. I'll try to catch up, guys, before we go. I don't want to keep these guys too long, though. Had a day cleaning out the garage, several trips to the dump. Busy day, mate. I think it's cooling down over there. It's winter, coming into winter for you guys. So starting to get pretty hot here.
Yeah, it was nice today. We went for a walk and it was like 74. And I thought, man, it's fall finally. And so it was nice.
Yeah.
Not blistering
Yeah,
hot here.
I love the two favorite times of the year is like spring and autumn. Okay, you guys call fall. Especially like in Japan, it's just the perfect weather, perfect temperature, and it's just really nice. Be nice if it stayed that temperature all year round.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Building muscle with carnivorous, indeed. Yes. Yeah, I think it's the best diet for building muscle. Now, naturally, of course, you're going to build as much as your body is capable of carrying. It's not like bodybuilders, for example, they are carrying more, like they are forcing their body to carry more than their body is supposed to carry through drugs and these other chemicals that they take. I mean, their whole diet is ultra processed and chemical based, basically. But I think you have a natural health wise a much better chance of building muscle on a carnivore diet. But it's not just about muscle, it's about bone and connective tissue as well. You're going to be much more healthy metabolically. But when it comes to training, okay, I'll give you a quick rundown on training for sets and like for hypertrophy. Now, depending on what your goals are, these things are going to change by a number of factors. Okay, a lot of variables involved when it comes to building muscle. For one, depends on what kind of training you are trying to get. Okay, do you just want to get lean? Do you want to be, say, if you're an athlete, a runner, or someone who's into calisthenics? Okay, you're going to be more into volume training. Okay, but if it comes to bodybuilding, which is what most people are these days are sort of drawn towards because that gives them that the aesthetic look of the bodybuilder, then you want the most effective short training that you can get. Okay, because there are a number of factors. Like if you're a professional bodybuilder, for example, you may rely on volume because that's all you do all day. All you do is train. So they might do 4 sessions in a day. Like I know Jay Cutler did 2 cardio sessions and 2 weight sessions a day before he won Mr. Olympia 4 times, for example. Okay. But for the average stiff, for the average person who goes to work, does a lot of extra incidental exercise, like Neil was talking about before. For that extra incidental exercise, you tend to overtrain your body because you're not getting recovery from. So a very short, direct training method of high intensity training. Okay, so you might do 1 or 2 sets per body group, and you will do to absolute failure, momentary failure, not long-term failure, just absolute momentary failure. So you might do say, a push-pull sort of routine, where you might do an upper body split on one day and the next day do legs. So you might do a short split like that, and you might do 3 or 4 sessions a week. That's enough. So upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body. 1 to 2 sets is enough. Say you do chest press, do it at a weight that you may get to anywhere between 5 and 15 repetitions, but you want them as high intensity as possible. So if it's just building muscle that you want, I recommend doing slow reps. Okay, so count 4 out, count 4 back, or do a 2 to 4 ratio, or 2 to 5. So I like to have, I think if you train slow, you're going to react slow. Like if you're an athlete, for example, you don't want to do slow movements in training, because when you race or compete, you're going to move slow as well. So I'm just talking about hypertrophy, all right? So for myself, for example, I would do, say, 1, 2 out, and then slow, because you are 40% stronger on the eccentric contraction than you are on the concentric. Okay, so on a chest press, for example, when you're pushing up, that's your concentric. On the eccentric, on the way down, okay, you are up to 40% stronger. Okay, so if you just go up and back, you're only doing half of the repetition. All right, so push up, so you go 1, 2, say. You can get counted up to 4, that's fine. Pause, and then slow down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, at the bottom. And when it comes to range of motion, you want to be able to connect with the muscle all the way. So keep it in a range of motion where you are always in contraction. For example, if you do a bicep curl and you get up to the top like this, really tight, you're no longer in a contraction. It's resting at the top, okay? Because so you want to keep it down just a little bit lower where you're still in a contraction, okay? You do not want to rest the muscle. You don't want to rest while you're doing the set, okay? No rest at all. That will get you into a lactate producing session faster, because you don't have any rest, and the more lactate you produce, okay, and the closer you get to failure. So don't worry about counting repetitions. It's about time under load. Try to say, if you do any kind of set, doesn't matter what set, don't worry about how many repetitions you do. So like try and time it for 1 minute or 2 minutes. Make it as slow as you can, okay? And that will give you a much more higher rate of failure, and that will give you much more growth as well. So because while you are doing that, the more time you spend under tension, the more muscle fibers you recruit towards the end of that, until you get to absolute failure. Okay, so the more muscle fiber you recruit, obviously the more growth you're going to get. Okay, is that clear enough?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to tell
Understand
people too that time under load, the 4 seconds, and it is tough, guys. It is really hard.
tough.
You should feel like you don't want to do it again. Like that. That's how
right.
I feel.
Yeah. You want it to hurt, not in a bad way. Okay, not in a bad way, not in an injury way. Okay, you want it to. I mean, you get to a point where it starts to burn. Okay, you get that lactate acid in your muscle cells, and then from there, try and see just how many reps you can do after that. Okay, so don't count it before that. Just see how much you can do after that. That's where the growth happens. All right. Never became muscular on the carnivore diet, but I am the strongest skinny guy you ever meet. Yep. Hey George, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Hi all. I can't sleep, so I'm here. Well, I'm glad you're here, buddy. Okay, I'll try and get through the rest of these comments before we go. But Yeah, we're an hour and a half in. So if we can't get to them all, guys, really sorry about that. We'll try and get to them soon, maybe next time. If that was true, I would be the whole. Yeah, absolutely. Did one of your morning mobility routines this morning, Nia? Would love a core strengthening video. Oh, there you go.
Coming up.
Yeah, I'll be doing one too, actually. Basics of how to get from very weak core to where you can do a reverse plank like I do now. Must be beneficial in mobility is obese. Yeah, for the obese. Yeah. 2.5 years ago, I could barely walk. Now I'm walking 3.5 miles a day, spending 4.5 hours on the feet. Excellent. Excellent. That's awesome, George. Doing well. Thanks for sharing and your time. I'll catch the rest of tomorrow. Yeah, thanks, Kate Smith. Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. 100 pounds down and type 2 smashed. Yeah, good man. Okay, let's see. Where are we going? Is that a question? What about a slow fast? Should one do a fast at the moderate pace? Should one start? Yeah, just take it easy. Do a fast. There, like I was talking about before, actually, you can speed up the effects of a fast by doing a dry fast. So, like, a 24-hour dry fast is just as effective as a 3-day fast. Okay. So there are things that you can do to change the results a little bit and make them happen a little bit faster for you as well. But I don't. Depends on the season you're in as well, your activity level. Dry fast can be quite strenuous on the body, so just be careful of that. Thanks for helping. Much appreciated. Struggle beyond 24-hour. If you struggle beyond 24 hours, just keep it at 24. It's all good. I just failed trying, even with repeatedly trying this, and I realized. Thank you, Mandy. Really appreciate it. 87 degrees there. Sounds good. In Florida. Okay. All right, guys. I think we'll leave it there today. Been a good hour and a half. So I want to thank Nia and Joff for joining me today. And hopefully we'll get this. We'll keep talking about this. Actually, I think it's very good. It's trying to get people moving again is so important. In fact, this morning I was reading 2 articles from the NIH in America, how exercise actually inhibits the uptake of glutamine and glucose by tumors. Okay, because there are pathways that actually block these fuels being taken up by tumors simply because of the circulation you get from exercise. So, movement is very important for our health. We are built to move, and our lymphatic system is proof of that. And of course, the venous return of the blood system is more proof. Okay. And it's something I like to stress to everyone. Even that doesn't mean that you have to get out to the gym and do strenuous exercise. It's just any kind of movement you can do. You do what you can now, and later on, what you can do will grow. Okay. Any last words, Joff? Nia?
I think keep it simple, guys. Just move. That's it.
Yeah, I think start where you are and don't make it. I think finding something you like to do is probably the most important thing that you will do. That's at your level, and then just like with diet, we try to find some community around. If there's somebody you can go for a walk with, or somebody you can go swimming with, or somebody you can go to a yoga class with. That always makes it more fun and easier to get into the groove doing when you have somebody to do it with. So my thoughts. Yeah, we should do more of these. These are fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. Make it fun. Make movement fun. Okay. Do do things like you did when you were a kid. Jump rope, flow rope is another good exercise. I do jump rope and flow rope. These are just things that you can just have fun with. Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there, guys. Hang on a sec. One more comment. I do sprints now through the front doors as supermarket all the way back where the meat department is. Yep, very good. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it, and thank you again, guys, for the live. I think this is a good one, and we'll see you all next time.
See you guys and girls.
Thanks, y'all.